Here we go. Let's get started. There's got to be a way this thing goes back up, right? Oh, here. It's like the blind leading the blind over here. We got this. All right, guys. I can't actually see any of your comments, but can you all just confirm that that you can see me? Daniel can see you guys, and just everyone type yes into the chat box and make sure that you can see my MRI screen. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so first and foremost, I think we just want to start out by saying thank you all for joining. I know that it's not easy to take an hour out of your day. Daniel and I are getting ready to do a whole day training, which I know we put on your calendar for November 8th. And we're going to review everything that we've trained so far. So if there's questions and stuff, kind of note them. If it's something urgent, address them with us individually. But I think the biggest thing since Daniel and I have come here with Capital Growth is we realize that there needs to be a streamline in processes and policies and making sure that everybody is doing everything the same. Our goal isn't to create more work for you. Our goal is to make things easier. It's going to be a little bit of a bumpy road, just like I think we thought, with the renewals, it was a little bumpy, but we're still kind of working out the kinks. But in the end, the amount of AAs for renewals has gone down drastically. And we were just talking about, Franklin Covey does a leadership course called the 7 Habits for Highly Effective Leaders. And Danny and I are going to do a fun training course with you guys from that during our training on November 8th. But today, they were just talking on the radio about this course. And the first step in that training is start with the end in mind. So as we go through the training today, I want you to remember that keep the end in mind, that we're doing this to make things easier, to streamline policies and procedures. But also, I know you guys complain about the traffic logs and the weekly status report. If all of you guys can come on board and get everything into MRI, your weekly status report will just be one click of a button at the end of the week. Actually, MRI can just generate an email and email it to you and myself at the end of the week. So I think we would all agree that we want to have that, and where we're not doing more work. We're working smarter, not harder, and we're not just spinning our wheels. So with that said, let's get started. So we're going to start with training you guys on guest cards. So as of today, and first I think we also want to address that everything we're training here today has been run by Renee, it's been run by accounting, and or any laws that we feel we needed to confirm, we've confirmed with KTS. So we're going to be changing a lot of policies and procedures, and I want to make sure that everybody understands these new policies and procedures. And then again, if there's questions or concerns, we can address them with you guys after each section. So here is our application. Oh, I need guest cards. 1 second, hold on. And all of this now, your Eagle Training in your apartment RM folder under Eagle Training under Move-In and all the documents you need. So today, as of today, all of your traffic is going to be logged into MRI. And what I mean by traffic is all emails, phone calls, people that come in and or tour or just interested in an apartment is going to be entered into the guest card section in MRI, and I'm going to show you that. So you can use this, this is in your RM folder, you can use this to follow along if you guys want to print it out, but I'm going to go through it in detail right now, okay? So let me log into MRI and get going. Okay. And we're going to be using Poway as our test or our training property example for today, because they have a unit there that I can play with, and I hope it's moved out in the system. Yes? Okay, Daniel said he moved it out. I was like, oh my gosh, we've been playing there. All right, so you're going to go, when you get a piece of traffic, you're going to go into, you're going to go to the little drop-down menu, and you're going to go down here to leasing and hit select prospect. And this is going to prompt you, right? Do we hit something? This is going to prompt you to enter a new guest card. Oh yeah, there it is. There's several ways to do this, and we wanted to make sure we're training you the easiest way. So we're gonna use me as the prospect for today because I think we have too many Jane Does in there. So you're gonna type the first name in. This is required as well as the last name. So you're gonna ask the prospects what's their first and last name. It's also going to be required of you to get their phone number for follow-up purposes. And entering them into the guest card. And then you can do the drop down here, fill that out. Your property ID already populates, and all of you should be listed in here. If you are not listed in the listing agent ID, please reach out to Daniel or myself and we'll get you entered in. But you're gonna wanna put your name on there, and every time now going forward you see this listing agent ID, please drop down and put your name because it will generate in reports and kind of make things easier when we're looking at bigger picture stuff in the end. So you're going to want to enter estimated move-in date, whether that be, you know, next week, or if you have an apartment on notice, or if they're looking for 6 months from now. So just put the estimated move-in date. It doesn't have to be exact. Right now it doesn't matter to get their address. We do, however, want you to get their email address. So that way we can do email marketing or doing a marketing campaign, and we can also send them information that we may need. Marketing source, again, we've added all the marketing sources in there. This is really, really important. This is the question you're going to ask them. It's how did you hear about us today? We want to see where we need to spend our marketing dollars, what's working, what's not. Do we need to, run more Craigslist ads? And so, that's going to be something new that I think you guys will have to get used to. And then you could enter the date of visit, the time, as well as are they looking for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and enter that in there. Okay, there we go. All right, and then you're just going to hit save. And at that point, you've created a guest card. Now, however, if there's going to be additional occupants in the apartment, or there's additional people that come to tour with your prospect, this is where you're going to want to enter them, and you're definitely going to want to enter them into occupants if they're actually going to apply for the apartment. So we're going to put Daniel here as my roommate. And I don't know his number off the top of my head, so to put that, but try to get as much information. So this is going to be critical. They're going to go under co-resident if they're over 18 years old, and you're going to be collecting an application fee. And if they're under the age of 18, you would put them under other resident. But because Daniel is over the age of 18, we'll put him as a co-resident. And then you're going to hit save and next. Okay. And then this is where you can actually stop. And for now, and this is where you would want to give your prospects, so you're going to stop the guest card. This is just entering traffic, and you're going to want to give your prospects the application requirements to bring back, and this is loaded into your. Oops, sorry, wrong document here, guys. That's later. 1 second. Oh, I think it was saved in there twice, Daniel. It's okay. We'll make sure it's loaded into your folder. There's an application requirement. Apartment reservation receipt for deposit. Oh no, that's the receipt. We created it. So application requirements. Just you want to hand that to them that says they'll need to bring in everything their documents for application. You'll hand them the application, which is also saved in your files. And then we will, we'll load the correct document in there. It's saved, I think, twice. Oh, Daniel, we can show what this looks like. There we go. So we created a letter. We would prefer that all of you guys now use the standard letter that we have loaded into your file as we've changed some of the legal verbiage on there, and also note whether or not it is requiring a money order or cashier's check. One thing to note that we have discussed as a team internally is we will take a $200 hold deposit, and that we will allow prospects to cancel within 72 hours and get that $200 hold deposit back. So that's something new I want you all to note. Okay, so say you have, then you're going to close out the guest card. This is done. You can go back to your, go back to life. And say they come back with an application, you're going to go back down here to select a resident, and you're going to look them up, and you're going to finish the process in MRI before you run them in MoCo. And you're going to go all the way beginning to end and put them on the calendar. So it's going to take you to this page, and you're going to go to the lease options page. And so when they're ready with their application, you're going to go and look for the apartment they're interested in. And I can't find an apartment. Oh, go to select. It won't let me search. I'm in Poway, correct?
Yeah.
Hold on, guys. Technical difficulties.
You're in there.
I'm in there. Okay.
Going to change this.
Okay, scratch that. We're going to go to Pack Palms, Rose, and we're going to, is your unit, did we lease that unit yesterday? You can unmute yourself and answer if you'd like.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Do you know if we held that unit yesterday when we were playing around in here?
We did hold it, yeah. Our prospect name was, I think, John Smith.
Okay,
I
want to
have
go
a lot
through
of guest cards.
the whole process. I don't know why Leslie's things aren't popping up here.
Change the move-in date parameters. Is it a later date?
No, I know it's a vacant unit, correct, Leslie? It's just not searching any of your apartments. Let me see if I pop up. That's weird. We've been doing this all week, and of course now when we're training, it doesn't pop up. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to enter myself as a guest. Rose, I'm just going to use one of your vacants, and I'll delete it at the end.
Okay, apartment 113 is probably the best one.
Okay. So you fill all the stuff out, and that's a one-bedroom.
One bedroom.
Vacant. Okay. And for the email address, it typed in my Denver. Everyone knew and can now know where I lived when I lived in Denver. And it's so interesting that it saved on my work computer. And leasing agent. See, it won't let you move on if you don't type in the leasing agent. Okay, so occupants, Daniel. His phone number, and he's the co-resident. Okay, so here we go. We're back to that. And we will use unit number 207 here. So you'll want to click on select. And this is where you can choose the term. So we're going to allow 6 months lease term at the beginning of lease terms, but you will see that as you go into your renewals now, there will be no more 6 months lease term options just because of rent control, and we can only increase rent one time per year, and it just makes things cleaner. So just something to note. We're not training on renewals today, but I just wanted to kind of make that. So we're going to take the 12-month term, and then the concession tab, you will see in your training manual that we will not be using this tab. If you're going to be offering a concession, you need to run it by your regional manager and have them enter in the concession for you. And then rentable items, if you're going to choose a rentable item, you'll want to do that here. So I'm going to choose that we're renting a garage for $35 per month, and you'll want to make sure everything is entered in as you go through this process. Did it not let me? Oh, there it goes. Oh. I'm putting after November 3rd. Hold on. Oh, cancel. So I'm glad you guys are watching us struggle because this is, I'm sure, what you all will be doing. So just watch. I got to change the date for when it's available. And if you're actually, I know what this is. If you guys get stuck on something like this, it's just because of the way the back end of MRI is set up. And if you have a unit that's vacant and you know is available and it's giving you that error, let Daniel and I know, and I know how to go into the back end and fix that for you. Okay. There we go. And so now this is going to take you to the lease summary. And because I'm moving in on the 3rd, MRI is automatically going to prorate this for you. Do not touch this tab. This is correct, and MRI is prorating correct. I know we hear a ton of information out there of everybody saying that MRI doesn't prorate correctly, but this is something we've discussed with KTS and discussed internally, and this is correct, and the prorate is correct. So just go ahead and make sure that that looks correct, and it's not some weird number like $500 when someone's moving in on the 1st. And it is the first month of rent prorated as it states in the lease. There's a lot of confusion about that. We do collect 1 month of rent ahead of time, and they will have a credit the 2nd month, but you're prorating the move-in month, not prorating the 2nd month, okay? And there's also a way to use your proration calculator, which is right here, and you can type the rent in here, and you can put in the move-in date. You know, we can use another date just so you guys can see. You hit calculate, and it'll tell you what the prorate date is. So they would have a credit of this the 2nd month. And so this here on this in this case, there's going to be a credit of this going into the 2nd month. Okay.
Can you tell them to hold their questions until the end of the
And Daniel says, hold your questions until the end of the section, and we will answer your questions for you via this WebEx. But you want to also make sure that it's charged the 2 application fees because there are 2 applicants, and also that you have your additional charges. So here you see that garage charge and the additional prorated amount. So then you're going to hit save and next. And this you're not going to deal with this screen as we don't do screening. You're going to be doing all of your resident screening in MoCo. So you're going to hit save and next. And then this is where you just want to verify that everything looks good and that everything is correct. And just so all of you know, we don't collect any non-refundable deposits in the state of California. That is illegal. And then deposit required, actually you will see by the end of the weekend, all of you guys are going to have populated security deposits. A new policy is that the security deposits are all going to be standard across the board with all of us. So you'll see that right here, studios are 500, 1-bedrooms are 600, 2-bedrooms are 700, 3-bedroom townhome or the single-family homes are all 800. Should there be an additional deposit required once MoCo comes back approved or approved with conditions, you will do that on the back end. So here you will just want to make sure that it has the security deposit automatically loaded. So the 1 bedroom is 600. That will automatically populate. We just have to feed that into the back end in Moco. So here's the total amount that you will have, and you know, make sure everything is correct before you hit finish, because this will trigger MRI to make charges on the account for you, which is a big thing that we get for AAs all the time. So you'll hit and collect that and do a finish. And then you'll see that it is on your dashboard. How do I move to, I forget how you look at the whole month of, oh, that's right.
Wait, and then you can go to the calendar.
Oh.
You can just move it over.
I knew that. What did we say, the 3rd? Oh, there you go. See, so Rose has a move-in now on the 3rd. And, you know, if the move-in date happens to change, just make sure that you're going in here. So say the resident says, I can't move in on that day, I want to move in on the 4th. You go in here and you can change, oh, you don't want to move in, cancel. You can go in here and change the date, should you need to. You do it right here. However, if they are moving in on the 3rd, do not push them to the 4th to advance your date. That will mess everything up and change everything and the charges. So make sure you're doing everything according to what the lease says. And now we will open up for questions before we go into resident screening.
Answer the first 2 questions.
The first 2 questions.
Rose, there's no lease renewal calculator in my, can you send the math? The math is actually in the document, training document.
The math is in the training document. It's in application process, and I will show you that right now. And you can use that proration calculator, but again, your renewal should automatically prorate. The problem is if you don't, if the price is not entered into MRI before the charge of the month, so before the 1st of the month, I actually think it's the 25th is when MRI triggers the charges, then it's not going to automatically prorate. And you should absolutely have your pricing in MRI 75 days in advance when you guys send us your spreadsheet. So everyone, we should have all of your pricing pretty much loaded in through the end of the year. And if we don't, you have heard from me by now.
Debbie asked,
all right, next question.
Debbie asked on the lease summary page, the rent amount is wrong. We will be fixing that.
Yes, the rent amount is wrong, and that is something Daniel and I we've made it the new policy and I think you guys got my email, no community manager. Actually, this has been a capital growth policy, is to touch pricing. Daniel and I are working very diligently to clean up the back end of your pricing, and you will be getting a pricing sheet from us, and we're going to be building out your market rent schedule so every single unit will have the correct pricing, and we will be reviewing pricing once a month and adjusting on our end. So if your pricing is wrong, reach out to us, because that means we haven't, either A, we cleaned up the back end completely wrong, or B, something's not pulling from the back end. But our whole goal here is to kind of streamline and clean it up. And like I said, it's kind of keeping the end in mind.
Rose wants to know when the new deposits go into effect. I would say
immediately. Every policy, yes. It's immediately after this training. So if you get a new lease, you know, starting tomorrow, and hopefully I can get them in. I'm almost done entering them in. I'm going alphabetically, property by property, entering them in and updating pricing. And or you'll see your floor plans look a lot nicer than the way they did before, which is probably what I did to Leslie. I didn't enter her floor plan correctly, which is why I couldn't search for her units. Because now I just realized. Sorry about that, Leslie. I will fix that on the back end today.
Rose wants to know if you can do an example of a prorate on rounding up the decimal point, or how we round on decimal points.
You won't be rounding anything. MRI will be doing all of your prorates for you, and you can use that proration calculator if you have any questions. But you really won't be entering anything into MRI. Again, if there's something that's not correct, reach out to your regional because your pricing should be correct. And if you're doing everything correctly, you won't be manually typing in anything.
Linda wants to know, do Section 8 seniors also need to have a holding deposit?
Yes, and if there's any one-off, so Linda, sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear Daniel. I'm answering the question like he's on the phone. It's hard for us to both be on the phone and doing this in the same room. When we go to our new office, it will be a little better. So the senior communities, if there's something different in the senior community that's already been established, you need to talk with Daniel, and we will run that by Renee and see if we want to streamline. But as of right now, everybody is doing exactly the same thing and will have exactly the same deposits. More questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Debbie wants to know how, and this is a
This is Debbie. Okay.
a good question. We should have gone over this. How long can you hold a unit with the holding deposit?
Oh, how long can you hold a unit with the holding deposit? Well, the holding deposit is good the holding deposit is good until the person moves in, but they have 72 hours to cancel, or get their app, or they can get their application to you. They just, if they cancel after 72 hours, they will lose the $200 deposit. Now, if the resident is denied or the applicant is denied, you always refund that $200 deposit, and we will go through how to do a cancel through the rest of this training. We haven't established hold times, like if we're holding for 2 weeks or 3 weeks quite yet. That's something that we will be writing, a policy for as we kind of dig through, historical data. But right now, it's really about moving people in an MRI the correct way.
Yes, I'm going to skip ahead to this question.
Okay, Daniel's skipping ahead to a question. Okay.
Debbie asked, are we now taking holding deposits before they are approved?
Always. So are we now taking holding deposits before they're approved? Always. You should always take the application fee and holding deposit before you run anything in MoCo, and you go through this whole entire process in MRI. And I think this is the biggest thing that we see AAs for, is that all of you are doing it reverse, and you're not triggering the charges, and then the accounting adjustments on the back end are pretty tedious on a weekly basis. So this is, you go through the guest card, the MRI application process like I just showed you here, and then the MoCo process, and then moving them in MRI, which Daniel will show you here next. Does that make sense, everybody? Don't type anything. Daniel said he has questions. Okay.
Debbie wants to know if she verbally told people about security deposits that they have not applied yet. Can they get the old security deposit, or do they have to go with the new security deposit?
Okay, so she's asking if she's already told people about security deposits, and does she have to go with the new policy? I would call and let all your prospects know who are interested that they have 24 hours to kind of make a decision and get it to you, or they're going to get a new deposit per the new policy of capital growth. And because we're doing this as a policy, as a company as a whole, we're not in violation of fair housing. So because we don't have an actual hold deposit, they're not committed to anything. All right, we'll do 2 more questions, and then we're going to move on with our training, and we'll try to answer some more at the very end of the whole thing.
Are holding deposits now required for all properties?
Holding deposits are required for all properties, yes.
And
one more question. Daniel's looking through them.
tell Rose we'll talk to her about that.
Daniel says, Rose, we'll talk to you about that one individually.
Yeah. Pet deposit.
Oh, pet deposits. Well, I guess you could have talked about that on the end. But yes, pet deposit goes under security deposit, and I believe that's in the move-in policy, but I will go over it really quick. Pet deposits go under security deposit, and it is a $200 deposit. Because the state of California does not allow you to collect non-refundable deposits outside of the security deposit, the $200 pet deposit goes under security deposit, and you'll be able to manually enter that in on the back end after the resident has been approved, and Daniel will go through that with you. Okay, guys, I'm going to hand the phone over to Daniel, and we're going to continue the training. So here he is.
Okay, guys, let me get all set up with our other training documents here. Hang on one second for me. Thank you.
Do you need me to log you into Moco?
Please, because I don't have my Moco stuff.
You can answer a couple more questions while I get set up in Moco for you.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions for right now at the moment before we continue? Megan's going to get some Moco information set up for us. Let's take a look. Okay. Do you list, oh, Jen, do you list co-signer as co-applicant? That's a good question, Jen. I don't know the answer to that. I think Megan's shaking her head yes. Yes, if you have a co-signer, you would put them in as a co-applicant. Thank you, Rose. Yes, you do. And once again, thank you guys for being so patient with everything. This is our first live WebEx, so we're still learning how to use the system. Once we know how to use it a little bit better and you guys get used to logging in and using your speakers and everything, it'll be a lot easier. Let's see, we've got another question. Yes, and I will go over that in more detail in a little bit, Carolina. The $200, it does still go towards the security deposit. So it's not just an extra holding fee. And I always let applicants know that up front when they come in. Let them know when you give them the sheet of application requirements, it does say on there the $200 deposit. I always would let them know, and this does go towards your security deposit. It's not an extra fee or extra deposit or anything. Yeah, some people aren't using holding deposits. We all are going to from now on. Part of the reason we use a holding deposit is because let's say you have an applicant that comes in and they drop their application off with you, and then you don't have a holding deposit. And in a few days, it's been more than 3 days, they've gotten approved from Moco, and they says, oh yeah, I'm going to move in, no problem, whatever. And then a few days after that, they cancel on you. You have now held a unit off of the market that we have not received any funds for at all. You weren't renting it to anybody else because you were holding it for these people, and now we just lost time that we could have been renting that apartment to someone else. And I even explain that to people, when they're asking, well, why is the holding deposit not refundable after 72 hours? Because if we've held this apartment for you for 3 days straight, that means that's 3 days that we have not rented it to anyone else. So at that point, we take the $200 and it goes to the client for basically lost rent for not being able to fill that unit. So that's why a holding deposit is partly really important. But also, if an applicant knows that they're not going to get that $200 back, they're a lot less likely to go somewhere else and rent. You're going to have a lot less cancellations because they know that if they do cancel, they're not getting that $200 back. So I hope that makes a little more sense. But yeah, we absolutely are going to start having holding deposits at every single property. Okay, so once you have received the application, you want to make sure that everything is correct. So go through all of your list, make sure that everybody over 18 has filled out an application. I don't know if you guys get this, but I used to get this a lot when I was a property manager. People will say, oh, I'm going to apply, but just me. My wife is going to live there, but she's not going to be on the lease. That's not acceptable. Anyone who's 18 and over has to apply. And even if they're under 18, you need to make sure you have their name and birth date, basic information, because all of it has to go on the lease. So once you have all of the paperwork, you're going to submit it to Moco. We are going to fax all provided send your POCOs to Moco, paperwork to Moco at 1-800-257-8893. Now, I know a couple people have different numbers for Moco. Keep using whatever number you're using until further notice. If your applications have been going to Moco fine, keep using that fax number. We're going to get in touch with them and double check. We think there may be a couple different reps, so we don't want anybody bombarding just one rep. So if you've been using a different fax number, keep using it. It's totally fine. Once you send everything to MoCo, you are going to be able to take a look at it in a couple different spots. So I'm going to open up, oops, where'd it go? There we go. So here we go. We have access to everyone, so yours will not look as full as this. But if you go to status, you're going to be able to see the status of the applications that you've submitted. So for instance, we have here, looks like Esmeralda requested a application at Twin Oaks, and it shows you here what they've completed. It also will give you the basic recommendations, whether they do meet the criteria or they don't meet the criteria. You can see all of this on your status, but you also, I believe, will get an email as well when they are done with the testing, I believe. Someone might need to double check me on that one if they send you an email, but no matter what, you can see it in status. If you go to your mailbox, you'll be able to view the ones that are already completed, when they were completed, and then we also have the documents portion over on the right-hand side, which is mainly what we're going to be talking about in this section. There's your MoCo mailbox. So a few things will happen once MoCo replies to you. If they are approved, you're going to contact the applicant, let them know that their application has been approved, what their security deposit amount is, and when they'd like to move in. And then you'll proceed to the move-in process, which we'll go over in a minute. But approved is real easy. Everybody's happy. Yay, they get to move in, and their $200 goes towards that main security deposit. So if their security deposit is a total of $600, they would need to bring another $400 in before they move in. Now, if the applicant is denied, not only do we need to let them know that they're denied, but legally we have to send an adverse action letter. There are instructions, of course, here how to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and show you right now. So let's go to one of Carolina's. Okay, so when you click on Documents, it's going to show you several different templates that you can use. These down here, and I know you guys have all done this, but just for new managers or recording of this for future use, these are all the templates that you could possibly use. If we're doing an adverse action notice, we're going to use this one, but we're actually going to click on Generate over here on the right-hand side. What that's going to do, it's going to automatically populate their first and last name, the client information. You could go ahead and fill in if they had a co-applicant and it didn't populate for some reason, you can put that there. And property address, I'm not going to put that in for time's sake, but what apartment number. Click Save. Once you do that, it's going to come up to your previous documents up here. So you're going to be able to click here and open it up. And it's going to have the information input here. So it's going to say that your application to rent has been denied. Adverse action has been taken due to the following. Denial of your application, consumer did not meet rental criteria. That's the one we're going to check off when you print this out. So the other options, talk to your manager if you're unsure which one to use. You can also, I believe we can also do the, Megan, double check me on this, a consumer credit report containing, no, not insufficient information. You don't want to use that one. Yeah, I think we're just going to stick with denial of your application. You would sign, date. You can mail it to them and hand deliver it to them. Keep the original of this. We don't want to give them the original. We want to give them the copy. Everything that we give the resident or applicant is always the copy. You would also use this form if you get from MoCo. Oh, doggies again. If you get a, where'd it go? So that's all that information we looked at. Oh, actually, this is something else I need to go over. Things to remember when denying an applicant. Don't explain Don't explain in detail why they were denied. I know sometimes it's hard not to do that, especially if you feel really bad for an applicant and they're like, oh, but I need a place to stay, and maybe it was this that happened, or maybe it was this, and you want to give them advice. Due to fair housing laws, we cannot, you don't even want them to know that you know why they were denied. All you want to let them know is, I'm so sorry, but we went ahead and submitted it to our credit bureau, and they are the one who made the decision. All you can do is give them that adverse action letter. Don't let them know, well, yeah, it's because I know you had a felony. We don't want them knowing that you know that information if you happen to know it. Unless MoCo has asked for a cosigner, running the app with another co-resident added on will not change the outcome. We do not want someone coming in, getting denied, and then saying, oh, well, so-and-so is going to move in with me, and maybe their credit score will bring my credit score up. No. We don't need a bunch of people just living together or saying they're on a lease just to get someone in. That's not how we want to do it. If you are going to live together, you both need to come in and apply at the same time. Of course, additional roommates added on later when someone's approved is fine, but that's a different story. Also remember, you must refund the $200 holding deposit. If it has already been deposited, which it should have been if it's been more than 24 hours, email your regional manager so that way the SOTA can be processed. The application fees are non-refundable. They will not get the application fees back. You're going to keep their denied application paperwork for 4 years. Right now it says in a filing cabinet. We are going paperless eventually in the next few months, so you will be eventually uploading that information into MRI only and then immediately shredding the documents. But for now, since we don't have that process set up, it is okay to go ahead and hold on to the documents for right now, but we'll be getting rid of that later. So let's go into, if someone is denied, what you would want, what that looks like in the system. I know Debbie had asked me about this recently. So I'm not going to actually fully do it because I don't want to mess up our flow for when we do the next training of the move-in process in a second. Actually, that was on the right page. I shouldn't have even left. Let's get back there to November 3rd. So because you've already put them in the system, and you'd go to November, go to Sunday. So I had to tell Megan Corcoran that she got denied. She was really angry about it, but there's nothing I could do. So we're going to have to cancel her move-in. So all you do is go ahead and click on that day. Megan's move-in appears here. And then you're just going to hit cancel. That cancels the move-in. It's going to still show it that it is on your calendar, but they're no longer going to be moved in. Then go ahead and, like it says in the training, email your regional, let them know you had a denial, that if you've already processed the 200, which you should be processing within 24 hours. So unless you that morning got a $200 deposit and immediately processed the applications and MoCo got back to you like after lunch, yeah, you can just hand the $200 check back to the resident. But chances are you're going to have already deposited the $200. Go ahead and email Megan or I, depending on who your regional is, and let them know that this is a move out that needs to be taken care of. We will get the SOTA going. Make sure they have a correct address because we need to know where we're sending this check. And we will go ahead and refund them the $200 and mail it to them as fast as possible. And yeah, thank you, Megan. Make sure that the address is actually uploaded in MRI, which if you followed your steps and did the guest card correctly, Oh, that's right. You did say not to put their address in. Thank you. So add their address in so we can make sure to know where we are sending this check to. Because as Rose can attest to, people who are not getting their $200 security deposits back are getting a little frustrated, which was not Rose's fault, by the way. We didn't really have this policy set up correctly, and she was waiting for us to mail out a check, and Megan and I hadn't done it. So she definitely got upset. So make sure you put that address in there. It is really, really important. Mm-hmm. On reservation receipt. Perfect. No worries. course. So on, I know Megan showed you guys the receipt for, I don't know if we trained on this one, but this is the form that when someone comes out and drops off their applications and their $200 deposit, you would put this information and fill it out. It does say that all prospects have 72 hours to cancel the application from the time the application is received. All return deposits with current address and can take up to 21 days to process. I believe that's 21 business days, so technically it could be anywhere from 21 to 30 days. We don't want it to be that long. You know, obviously get the address in to us, let us know as soon as possible, and we will get that check out as soon as we can. But if they're hounding you, and like Rose had, they're walking down the block and knocking on your office door every day, just show them that receipt that they signed and let them know, I'm sorry, but we do have 21 business days to get this back to you. We will try to do it sooner than that, but it possibly could be that long. The last option is approved conditionally. MoCo can say they are approved, but they need to pay a higher deposit or a cosigner might be needed. If you get one of those, you still need to fill out the adverse action. I'm not going to go through the whole process again because you guys saw how I did it and it is loaded up in here. You go ahead and generate your adverse action after you put in all your information, and then you would check this first box, an increased security deposit or fee and or cosigner is required. If advising the resident of a higher security deposit, inform them they will need the full deposit amount minus their original $200. And then a cosigner, as Jim mentioned earlier, we would go ahead and add on a co-applicant. That's the only exception to that rule that I was mentioning earlier of if someone gets denied, not adding someone on. MoCo, if they say it's okay, we can do it. So I do want to go over real quick before we end this section. If you end up getting a higher security deposit, we have already put in Megan Cochran's security deposit as the regular $600. So what do we need to do in order to raise that? You are able to do that. So let's find Megan. Now that we've finished her move-in, now that we've finished holding the unit for her, I should say, because we haven't finished her move-in. Now that we've finished holding her unit for her, she is technically a resident. It shows her as a future resident. Her lease start date isn't until November 3rd. And it shows here that the deposits required was a total of $630. That's what Megan put in. If you wanted to amend that, you click on Amend Lease down here. Sorry if I did that too fast. I know that the WebEx kind of has a lag on it. Click on Amend Lease right here, just like as if you were putting in acceptance of a renewal. But you're going to go over here to Deposits, click on Deposits, and you can change the deposit amount. So let's say that it was $630 because we had the garage charge deposit on there. That's why it's $630. But MoCo said there's an additional $300 that needs to be on there. So the total is $930. You can just type that in right there and then hit Save. And that will change it. So now she has a deposit required of $960. So that is the first section I'm going to go over of resident screening. We've gone over approvals, denials, conditional, how to send it to MoCo. As far as those subjects particularly, we're going to open it up to questions. So Megan, what questions do we have so far?
There's a lot of questions on MoCo will email the complete recommendation most of the time. Also, you can also email your application directly to MoCo and not fax.
Yes, you can email it directly. I didn't go into that on this one. There are some managers who are still having a problem with just submitting it to MoCo, so we're just going to kind of say it the simple way for now. But yes, you can email them to MoCo. You can even do it directly on the MoCo website. If you want to do either of those things, I'd recommend getting with either myself or Megan, or I think, sorry, I'm going to call you guys out here for a second if that's okay. Leslie and Bev, I think, know how to do that as well. So if you maybe want to reach out to them, or I think Rose as well could help you out. So awesome, thank you. We're going to go ahead and save the information and modify the training document so you guys can have it as well. she's going to. Perfect. Awesome. All right, what else we got?
Let's see. Do we provide people a local report to applicant if they check the box, the applicant page? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Oh, I know what they're asking. The question was, are we allowed to give the resident the MoCo report if they check the box saying that they do want their credit report? That is a very good question. We will double check on that, but I think they actually have to contact MoCo to do that for privacy reasons. We don't want to give that information out because once again, it kind of puts you at risk because you know why they got denied. We don't want someone harassing you about not approving them. We want you to have as little to do with it as possible. So we will, that's a great question though. We will double check on that info, but I think they would need to contact MoCo to get the full report.
Rose asked about if it's on the 5 things document. The 5 things document is no longer, and it's the application requirement that is loaded into your RM folder.
Okay, so. Oh, okay. So we were wondering if what's on the.
She was wondering if you put on a 72-hour cancel.
Oh, okay. So the question was, is the 72-hour cancel policy on the paperwork? Yes, it will be. The 5 things you need, that is being replaced. That whole document with the list of things they need, we're recreating that. That will be uploaded probably by either late this afternoon or probably tomorrow. So that way you guys will have that. It'll be in this same move-in training document. Megan, I wasn't going to say it, but Megan admitted it. She did create it, and I saw it. It looks fantastic, and then she accidentally saved over it, and it got deleted. So we at like 5 minutes before the training started. So we'll remake it and upload it for you guys. But yes, Rose, that policy will be listed on there, so the residents can clearly see that. Any other questions, Megan? That's it? Okay. So just real quick, I know we have already been on this call for an hour right now. I don't know if you guys' brains are about to explode, but I'm going to give you like 2 minutes to get some water, go to the restroom. Lord knows that's kind of what I need to do. And we'll start back in about literally like 120 seconds. So just a quick 2-minute break so you can get water or whatever you need to do, okay? And Megan's going to come and chit-chat with you guys real quick if you need anything.
Hey guys, if you need anything, you can unmute yourselves and let me know, and I'm happy to answer any more questions while I wait for Daniel to come back or any of you. Do 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 do. I can't see your questions because I'm on my computer on the WebEx. Oh, wait, here, I'm coming over to Daniel's. How much? Like probably 15 more minutes. We're just going to go over the last bit of training. I can see your questions now if you guys want to type in the thing or, like I said, unmute yourselves and talk to me directly. Carolina, there's a way to call in if you look in the calendar invite. You can call in through your phone, but you don't have to. How old are my Shih Tzus? Liza is 5 and Kobe is 2.5. That will be on your POP quiz later in the month. I'm just kidding. Not easy.
Good question.
Does MoCo email when someone's been approved or denied?
I swear they do.
I believe they do. Everybody, we're going standard. Pet deposit is $200. And I just make sure you are reading your policies now. They are all in your training folder, in your apartment RM folder. Everybody, we're going completely standard, and it's all in the policy piece of it. So make sure you are reading that, because we changed security deposit and pet deposit. Again, we're going standard, we're going industry standard, and want to be consistent as capital growth as a whole, actually CFI capital growth as a whole. All right, Daniel, you're ready to continue? I think everybody's ready to keep going. Okay.
All right, thank you for the break, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, here we go. So this is the final section, by the way, guys. I know it's been a long training, and I really appreciate you guys hanging in there. So the final step is the actual move-in process. So just to go over a few policy things before we actually show moving Megan into Pacific Palms. A couple important things that are not really being done consistently. When you have a lease signed, whether it be a wet signature on paper or e-sign, which I'm going to show you how to do both of those things in just a second, the applicants have to sign first. You cannot sign the lease first. Everyone has to do it, and then you can.
So we'll get that after they're approved.
Perfect. You're going to want to give your residents something basically to know exactly what's going on. This is the document that Megan created. I really, really like it. There are some areas where you can modify it for yourself. Of course, you can take Pacific Palms and put your property number, their new address, their apartment number, their move-in date. This gives a nice checklist of things that they're going to need to do. They're going to need to complete and sign their lease. They'll be getting an email or call from us to let them know how to do that. Their move-in amount. So you're going to let them know their rent due, security deposit, the holding deposit taken away from that, of course, because if their security deposit is $600, they already put $200 down. We're not going to charge them the full $600. Please note that if you move in mid-month, your rent will be prorated, and you will see a credit on your account the second month after you move in. That part is really important, and I know that that part is changing a lot. So if anyone is super confused about the way we're doing the first and second month prorates now, please reach out to me and Megan, me or Megan after the training, either today or tomorrow, and we'll go over that with you, because I know that's kind of blowing a couple people's minds. This is super important. They need to set up their utilities. Even if we pay for water, trash, or we've got utility billing, they still need to set up their San Diego gas and electric. They also need to give you the account number. Messing up our document. There we go. They need to give you the account number because we want to verify that they actually have done it. They also need to get renter's insurance. They can go, we prefer that they go with Deans and Homer because we have a relationship with Deans and Homer. We have access to their website so we can see what residents are on there. They can go to insureyourstuff.com, or we'll get the phone number for that later, and that they can call and go ahead and do that. Optional services, this is just helpful. You can change this information because I know some cities don't have AT&T or Spectrum. I know up in Carlsbad you guys have Granite, I think. So whatever, just be aware of what services your community offers and go ahead and put that in there. And then if you already know what time they're going to come in and sign their lease, you can put that on there. Also, you can put your office hours, so that way they can call you and make an appointment. Everybody's office hours are a little different for the most part, so make sure to put that in there. And then you can put your phone number, so that way if they have any questions, they can give you a call directly. This is a great thing to give them as soon as they are approved. If they come in directly, to pick this up, that's fine. You can modify this and email it to them. Either way, but this is a really great document that Megan made that I really would like for you guys to start using. So most of that information's on here. We also need to make sure the unit gets ready, of course. We'll deal with that when we do move-outs. There is the welcome letter, and then we're going to have them sign the lease. So there's a couple ways to sign with your resident. And we're going to go back to Moco real quick. Donde es Moco? Moco es aquí. Okay, here we go. So If you want to have them, and Leslie, feel free to type in if I say something wrong, because Leslie's actually the one who helped me with this, because before this I had never submitted anything to MoCo. So Leslie was very helpful in setting this up. So if I do something wrong, Leslie, call me out on the chat. If you want to go ahead and make their lease, you're going to do the same exact thing that you did for the adverse action. It works the same way. You're going to hit generate on the lease package. So for instance, this is Mahelli Palms. So Carolina would hit generate, and it would pull up a ton of boxes that you need to fill out. All this information you should have available to you though. We've got co-applicants, additional co-applicants, occupants, which of course co-applicants or co-residents are financially responsible. Occupants are not financially responsible, so those would be minors. Yes, the minors do need to be listed on there. We need to list them so we know how many people are in the apartment, because we do have limits on how many people can live in one apartment together. And then also we need to know when that minor is going to turn 18, because if they turn 18 when they're living in the apartment, we're going to need to run them and get them on the lease as a co-resident. You'd enter in the property address. For lease term, you're going to, anything that, when it says X right here on lease term or month to month, you're just going to do what it says and put an X. That's selecting that yes, we have a lease term, which you will be doing, of course, unless for some random reason you have a month to month later on down in renewals. And then you put in the beginning date and the ending date. Go ahead and put in the information. These drop-down boxes you can say whether or not you want that addendum. So if you have a concession that you're giving them, we would want to go ahead and display it. More than likely, we're not going to have a concession, so you'd want to hide the section. If they have a pet, you can do the pet addendum, companion animal, and so forth. For asbestos and lead paint, that all depends on how old your building is. So if you have any questions about that, you can let your regional manager know, and we'll help you out. So I'm not going to fill all this info out. This training's already gone on too long, so we're not going to do that. I'm going to hit save. And then that, once again, populates on previous documents. We can go ahead and click that and open it up. And all of our information that we input will be there. Of course, all of this, anything in bold is what you have input into the lease for the most part. If you decide you are going to do e-sign, you can, oops, wrong one. So all of this that we're going over is all in the training document. So you'd go to, when you go to documents, instead of the regular one, you would click on e-sign right here and click generate. I'm not going to redo that process because it's the exact same thing. You're going to go through all of this again. The only difference is you're going to really want to make sure that their email information's there. So yes. So you're going to fill out everyone's info, including your own. However, you want to make sure that it goes to them first. Once you've clicked generate, save, I apologize. Once you have hit save on inputting all of your information, this will now show in your previous documents just like before. You're going to hit sign. Now that doesn't mean you're signing the document. So don't freak out. It's okay. Once you have clicked sign, it's going to give you an option to go ahead and send it to them. You don't actually have to sign it until you get notification that everyone else has signed. So for instance, here you can see anyone in green has signed it. So in this case, the manager at La Privada, Leslie, has signed this one. But let's say you see, just one of the residents has signed and this third person has not signed. You wouldn't want to sign it yet. You want to wait until everyone is signed. Unfortunately, from what I understand, when everyone signs, you don't always get an email notifying you of that, unfortunately. So you do need to stay on top of it. Check it, a couple times a day. Reach out to them, remind them they need to sign it, because you have to get that back before you hand over the keys. Once they have signed it, you can click on download signed, and you've signed it as well. You can click on download signed PDF in order to print the document. That way they can have a copy of it as well. It will also show you on there on your previous documents file, if you've already hit sign and you've sent it to them, it'll show you it's pending, which means that not everybody signed it yet. Eventually it will show that everyone has signed. A couple things to remember when you're signing leases, whether it be wet documents or online, we do not give over keys to the apartment until we have all residents sign the lease and you have received the first month's payment. You also have to get that SDGE account number. Before handing over keys, make sure you walk the unit, notate any issues on the move-in walkthrough page, which I believe everyone's doing. I'm seeing that on sodas a lot, so that's good. Keep doing your move-in and move-out walkthroughs. And then, of course, make a copy for the resident so they can have the lease. And now we're going to move to the final step of actually finishing it in MRI. So I'm going to move that over. Excuse me. Okay. So, hang on one sec for me, guys. Okay, good. I wanted to make sure we were doing that in the right order. All right, so in order to move someone in, there's been a lot of confusion over quote-unquote completing move-ins. When we ask you to, on your calendar, complete a move-in or a move-out, I've had some managers who get flustered and are like, whoa, no, I don't have the paperwork yet. I don't have the paperwork yet. How do I do that? It's literally one click of a button. So go to your dashboard. You would, let's pretend it actually is November 3rd, because yes. So you should have your paperwork. We will go over how to upload that all in just a second. But in order to actually complete the move-in, just as you were seeing before, go ahead and click on the day. It's going to show you what you've got on that day. You can go ahead and click Move-In, and this will move them into the unit. All you're going to do is click OK. And it will, can I go ahead and do that on this one? It's November 3rd? I'm going to go ahead and do that even though it's not till November 3rd. Nah, it won't let me, because if it was today, if today was November 3rd, once I click Move-In and then click OK, it would move her in. The only difference that's going to happen is instead of saying Move-In, it's going to say Complete. And that means you've done what you need to do. So when you get those emails from Ursula or anyone in accounting that says, hey, we need to move the calendar forward, but you have pending items on your dashboard, they're not talking about renewals. They're not talking about sodas. They're talking about move-ins and move-outs. So that's when you need to go look at your calendar and say, oh, you know what? Megan moved in yesterday, and I did all her paperwork, but I completely forgot to hit move-in. That's what you need to do. You need to hit move-in and then OK. And then you can send the email back to Ursula and say, it's all good, and she gets to advance the date in the calendar. That's super important because we are driving accounting absolutely crazy with holding up the calendar advancing. So once you have done that, we're also going to go ahead and put in the move-in money. So this is going to look a little bit funky, because we haven't actually collected application fees or anything. So it's not going to be quite the same, but I still want to show you the basic process and one of the details. And then I promise we're almost done, guys. So to put in their money for when they move in, go to Receivables and PM Payments. Let me pull up the way we want it. Here we go. So this automatically brought us to a batch. Nope, not doing that. I'm going to change the batch. You want to make sure before you just start putting money in the system, you want to make sure you've created your own batch, because it sometimes will open up one. You might be in someone else's batch. We want to change batch, and we're going to click New Batch. So this is also in your training. There is a specific way that we want you to input this information. It is when you first start the batch, you have to write the word pending. The reason you have to write the word pending is because if you don't, Ursula is not going to know what you're doing with it. She needs to know what's going on. So if you put pending, Ursula is going to know that you are currently working on this, and she is not going to touch it until you say otherwise. You put your property number, the property name, today's date, and the amount of the batch. All of this information is separated by underscores. So let's say I've got this. I know this isn't Fact Breeze, but for time's sake, I'm going to copy this. And let's see if it'll come over. Oh, it did. Yay. All right. So $14.95. Let's do a little bit more for OPC example. We're going to say that Megan gave me $2,100. Put that in your cashier, $2,100, and hit save. Okay. So now we're working in the batch that we want. And oh, I don't know if it's going to let me pull her up because I spelled her name wrong. Am I spelling your name wrong, Megan? Spell your last name for me. There we go. There she is. Okay. Now here's the part. Because I wasn't actually able to move her in, it's not going to show the right amounts. However, when you're doing this, if you're unsure of what's going on, please. Yes. Yes. It does have the application fee in there, which is perfect. Also, you can notice it's $80 because we had one resident and one co-resident, so it automatically calculates that for you. There is an example in here of several steps where I actually have a full amount where everything's going to certain areas, so I'll probably show you guys that in a second too, just so it makes a little more sense. We're going to be putting in $2,100. And let's say it's check number 261. Because these amounts don't match, and also because this is a move-in and we've got several different things going on, we need to go to details and distribute that money out. If you don't distribute this money out correctly, we've got over $2,000 going to OPC. OPC is an open credit, which means it's not being applied to anything. So if you had security deposit that hadn't been paid yet, and you haven't told the system to apply any of this money to a security deposit, it's not going to go to the security deposit. And when it's just going to sit on the account as an open credit. When they get charged rent next month, that rent is going to eat up part of that open credit, and then your ledger is going to be really messed up. So let's make sure, first of all, we have our application fee, $80, that automatically went, but she also paid $960 in deposit. So I'm going to add a line. We don't need to charge it. We are just putting it in as a security code. So we're putting in SD. And all of the charge codes and security codes will be in the training folder as well. So security deposit for the description. And then I'm going to put that she paid $960. It's okay that it says it's minus $960 right there, at least here, because it doesn't show charges for the security deposit. However, I now need to change this amount because when you're done with this screen, you want your remaining amount to be 0. We want everything charged out to or distributed out, I'm sorry, to the correct charge codes. So because usually, like on this screen right here, once you actually move someone in, it's going to charge them rent. Because I wasn't able to move Megan into the system, it didn't charge her rent. But if I had, there would be a charge code here for RCH, $1,540 for first month's rent, and we want to make sure that that rent is paid. So I'm just going to add one on here so that way you guys can kind of see what it would look like. So let's say we've got, she paid $14.95. Now we are way over on our remaining. We have to figure out what is actually going to OPC. So you do have to do a little bit of math. So let's get out our calculator. So she made a total payment of $2,100. 80 of that, oops, minus, oh, that doesn't work on yours. Okay, minus 80 for the app fees, minus $960 for the security deposit, and then, oops, I messed up. Let's say it's $1,060 for the rent. Sorry about that. Or just even $1,000 for the rent. Perfect. So minus $1,000. And then we have $60 left over. Whatever's left over, that's what's going into OPC. And you can change that there. Now we have remaining 0. Once again, just to clarify, because I know I kind of did that backwards, we had the application fee, her security deposit, her first month's rent, but then we have an OPC credit. The reason we're always, not always, but most of the time going to have a credit is because the system only charged her for prorated rent. So even though her rent was, let's say $1,060, which we don't have anything that cheap, but she paid $1,000 for her rent, prorated, and then that extra $60 is going to carry over into the second month. And then you would go ahead and hit save. That's all distributed out now. So then, now that if that's all you need to do, there's no other checks you need to take care of, you can go ahead and go up to batch number. And we're going to change this from pending to ready. Once you hit save, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to confuse Ursula, but once you hit save, this is going to show up in Ursula's queue. She's going to see that it says ready, and that means that it is ready for her to process. She is going to go ahead and take care of it. I am going to go ahead, though, and delete this batch so that way, wait a minute, I think I got to do that here as well. Yep, so if you do make a mistake or you need to delete the batch, you can go to batch number and hit delete and say, yes, I want to delete the batch. And it's gone, and it'll ask you if you want to do a new one. The very last thing in this section, that's all your payment info on your document. We need to make sure to upload the documents into MRI. There is a few, I don't think we put this on here, Megan, but we are going to change the way that you guys upload this. And I think we're going to have to update this training and then get it back out to you guys. I apologize. We just had realized this morning. Your move-in checklist will still be the first page, but we're going to modify that new resident move-in checklist at the bottom because we want a few things separated. We do want the lease, addendums, the payment images all together. However, we want your application paperwork separate. That needs to be uploaded separate. Your renter's insurance proof also needs to be separate. And I know that sounds like a lot to do. However, if you're doing it in the correct order, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So when someone comes in and gives you their application and you get the answer, you can go ahead and upload that in their file. It's done. And then when they sign their lease, upload that. When they give you their renter's insurance, upload that. The reason we need that done that way is because at corporate, we get so many requests to go through the information, especially for instance when we do commissions. I may have to look up, I have to verify your information that the renter's insurance is correct, the lease is correct, and to scroll through 40 to 50 pages 40 to 50 times in a day, that takes up a huge amount of our day. So if you could just upload it separately, that'd be great. Megan is now showing you the comment, the description we want. In the training document that I just had up, there's also the file information, the file name information that you need. So every file needs to be named a certain way, described a certain way, and then have a comment. And the file name and the comment name are actually going to be the same, I believe, right, Megan?
The description is what it is.
The comment and the file name are the same, right?
Oh, yeah, I can't.
Right.
I don't know, tell them I don't have a document.
Yeah, but we will adjust that part of the training so that way you guys can see that. But at least the naming conventions are on that training. Let's bring that up. Move-in process. So I'm pointing like they can see me. Yeah, there you go. That's the naming convention. I was pointing at the screen like you guys could see me doing that. So property number, move-in, last name, unit number. The description is just lease 2019 or next year, lease 2020. For renter's insurance, it's going to be property number, insurance, their last name, unit number, and the year, and then insurance proof and year for the description. We just want to get all on the same page and be consistent and make sure we're all uploading it the correct way. Okay, so that is finally, thank you guys for hanging in there with us, the end of the training for move-in. So I believe we're already getting some questions, so I'm going to turn it over real quick. What questions do we have, Megan?
Would she ask if we're now accepting personal checks for move-in money?
Personal checks for move-in money. We asked Renee that today, and she said, yes, we are still accepting personal checks for move-in money. That is okay.
Any other questions?
Was that the only question? Is everybody else asleep? Let's see what the test